Hey there. This is another part in a series of where Jeff reads. This is from Kipling, a selection of his stories and poems by John Beecroft. Again, this is something that was re-gifted to me. I think I bought this from my dad. It was re-gifted back to me when he died. So I'm excited to have it, and I do want to get back into the word. Anyway, you can see it here, Kipling. Here's a cool cover here. Here's some of his stories. Here's one of them, the finest story in the world. The quote on the front says, "Or ever the knightly years were gone with the gold world to the grave, I was a king in Babylon, and you were a Christian slave." W. E. Henley. Let Grandpa get some coffee. Let's let Grandpa get some coffee here. Go ahead and let Grandpa get some coffee. His name was Charles Mears. He was the only son of his mother, who was a widow, and he lived in the north of London, coming into the city every day to work in a bank. He was 20 years old and suffered from aspirations. I met him in a public billiard saloon where the marker called him by the first name, and he called the marker Bullseyes. Charlie explained a little nervously that he had only come to the place to look on, and since looking on at games of skill is not a cheap amusement for the young, I suggested that Charlie should go back to his mother. That was our first step towards better acquaintance. He would call on me sometimes in the evenings instead of running about London with his fellow clerks, and before long, speaking of himself as a young man must, he told me of his aspirations, which were all literary. He desired to make himself an undying name chiefly through verse, though he was not above sending stories of love and death to the penny and the slot journals. It was my fate to sit while It was my fate to sit while Charlie read me poems of many hundred lines and bulky fragments of plays that would surely shake the world. My reward was his unreserved confidence and the self-revelations that and troubles of a young man are almost as holy as those of a maiden. Charlie had never fallen in love, but was anxious to do so at the first opportunity. He believed in all things good and all things honorable, but at the same time he was curiously careful to let me see that he knew his way around the world, as befitted a bank clerk on 25 shillings a week. He rhymed dove with love and moon with June, and devoutly believed that they had never so rhymed before. The long, lame gaps in his plays he filled up with his hasty words of apology and description, and swept on, seeing all that he intended to do so clearly that he esteemed it already done, and turned to me for applause.